Good afternoon, Governor. How much money in total has New Jersey gotten from federal stimulus bills, and how much has the state spent? Care to comment on why you haven't spent more of the $2.4 billion in CARES Act funding? And will you ever make this information easily available to the public on a dashboard to provide transparency for this money? Financial analysts want to know more about the borrowing plan, and why not wait to see if New Jersey actually needs $9.9 billion before authorizing it? And what are the specifics of how the state plans to pay it back, over how long? Why not let voters decide in November if they want the state to borrow that much money? Finally, NJEA leader Marie Bliston said schools don't have enough time to open in the fall, contrary to your plans. What's your reaction to that, and how involved was the NJEA in discussions before you made that decision?
How much total we've gotten? I assume you mean not just CARES Act money, but Health and Human Services and others. I don't have a total, but we can get that for you. Do you have it, Matt? I know the CARES Act is, the number we use is $2.4 billion. But.
Yeah, the coronavirus relief fund was $2.4 billion, but there's various pots. Part of the governor's order that he signed today is the creation of a website laying out the spending plan. So that is coming. It's something he announced today.
The extent to which money isn't spent is overwhelmingly due to, and Matt will correct me if I'm wrong here, still needing guidance from the feds on how we can spend it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, across all of this, all federal money comes with very strict regulations, and there's approval processes, including the money that the health department's working on for testing. So depending on the pot of money, we're subject to various forms of guidance. Plus this money, we don't know if additional federal money is coming yet. So Treasury has budgeted and worked with the legislature to come up with a plan as to how to spend this money over the coming months, some of which we've announced and some of which we'll be announcing going forward. But there's a plan to spend it all. It's just some of it we need to ensure that we're compliant with all federal rules and regulations. And again, that goes to the governor's order that he announced.
And again, these are different buckets. Some of this is very clear on testing capacity and testing materials, very clear on FEMA-related things. There's a cost share, et cetera. Matt also mentioned something which I meant to mention, I think actually in Daniel's question. We've said this is not either or, but it's at the moment, it's bonding and nothing at the moment from the feds prospectively. We are still hopeful, but we don't have any sense of where that's going to come out. And clearly, the more robust that response is, the better it is for us. Not in lieu of being able to borrow money to invest in the services that our residents need, but certainly in addition to. I think we've already answered the question on are you going to make this information public? I just made that announcement today. Listen, you want to get, and this is, I think, a very good result we ended up with the legislature. We want the ability to borrow up to, none of us wake up wanting to borrow at all, if not borrow all of that, unless we have to. But we want to have the maximum. Again, this is a historically unprecedented fiscal crisis, unlike, again, Great Depression, Civil War. We need to have as much ability at our disposal. Plans to pay back TBD. I mean, let's get through the first part of this. Why not let it go to voters? We'll be broke by November 3rd. So, and then you've got to add 12 weeks or whatever it's going to take beyond that. We have no choice. And that's not a decision you take lightly. Again, historically, fiscal impact, historically unprecedented. I had an exchange with Marie this morning. Listen, we take all constituents in this process of getting back to school deadly seriously. And we mostly look at this through the eyes of our kids. What's right for them to keep them healthy, to keep their mental health strong, to make sure that they get the public education they deserve. We're number one in the country. And by the way, a lot of that's due to not only great kids, but great educators. And listen, right now we've put out the Department of Education with a heavy dose of input from Judy and her team at the Department of Health, have put out the broad parameters of what we want districts to consider. And just as when we closed, each of the districts submitted a plan under the theory that no two districts are alike. We're asking the same as we reopen. what is it going to look like? And the districts, I believe, have to submit that plan 4 weeks before whenever the go date is, and also make that public. And so we've laid out strongly held principles and parameters. It's up to the districts now to come back to us and to their constituents, to their kids, most importantly, to the parents, the educators, the administrators, and to us with their plans. I was really happy yesterday to make the announcement we made. So no matter what a given district's plan looks like, whether it's all in, whether it's hybrid, no matter what it may look like, the digital divide was a bone in our throat in this state, frankly, in this country. And I was incredibly honored to be in Irvington yesterday and make the announcement with the Senate President, Senator Ruiz, who is the chair of the Senate Education Committee, Kevin Deemer, who's our acting commissioner, April Voss, who's the superintendent in Irvington, and Mayor Tony Voss, and many others, to make the announcement that we had pulled together the resources and also plead to philanthropic and corporate folks to once and forever and always eliminate the digital divide, to not just get devices to every kid, but to give them the internet connectivity that they will need. And so no matter what a given district's, I say that because no matter what a given district's reopening plan looks like, having that in our pocket is a game changer. You'll remember, this feels like it was in the 1950s, but it was in mid-March. The three of us were up here every day talking about why did we wait another couple of days? It was to make sure in particular that we signed off on the district's plans. And remember, many districts closed before we ultimately pulled the garage door down and mandated that. And that was with our blessing. But the hot, reliable meal that too many of our kids have the school to rely on, and to make sure, Pat, I remember early days, that was topic number one, and the digital divide and the lack of access to devices and what the workarounds were. And so in any event, it's a long-winded way of saying we understand the passions on all sides of this. We're working morning, noon, and night ourselves. I know the districts are. I've got a meeting later on this afternoon on this very topic, and as we've got things to report, I promise you we'll get to you. Thank you.